Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, February the 22nd. Race number 7 at Gulfstream Park. We're going 5.5 furlongs, rain or shine, on the Tapeta surface. 3-year-olds in a $50,000 starter allowance with a $50,000 claiming option. Let's take a peek at this field. Pretty competitive field of 8 getting set to line up. The 3 Loco Abarrio is 5-2. Your morning line favorite, taking a little bit of a class drop after racing in the Pasco at Tampa Bay Downs.
Yeah, exactly. So far, the fastest race he's run was on dirt, Dan. But I guess his 2 all-weather races aren't terrible performances. To be honest with you, I have no idea who's going to be favored in here. It certainly could be the 3, but it's a pretty well-matched field.
The 3 Loco Abarrio does like to be forwardly placed. Let's see where our friends at Timeform US have him on the Timeform US pace projector, and he's not on the lead in this race. That honor goes to the number 8, No Name Dude, who's been chasing some pretty fast paces on both dirt and turf and is already a stakes winner on synth.
Yeah, his only start on the all-weather surface here was actually a pretty good performance, winning a stakes race. He's got speed. I guess he could make the lead in here, Dan, if they get aggressive with him. He was very comfortable tracking when he won that Hollywood Beach on this surface last October, but he's pretty fast as well. If they want the lead, I guess he could make it.
The number 1 Ticento's lone lifetime victory came on the turf, but this horse switched to the synthetic last time out, got blinkers once again, and gave a much improved performance for the underrated trainer Jack Sisterson. Let's watch Ticento's race. Now, this is an open $16,000 claimer. Ticento had to go pretty fast in the early part of this race. A sub-22 first quarter mile, has a clear lead in the stretch. And Mike, how does he lose?
Yeah, I don't know, Dan. I thought this was a pretty bad loss. He gets really tired in this race, but he looked basically home free all the way down to the 16th pole. He just doesn't finish at all, and he gets nailed in a 16 claimer. To me, he's up in class here. You mentioned that his only win came on turf. He was 100-1 when he won that race over in Ireland. I don't know, man. To me, he just doesn't. To me, he looks like a horse. He's just not very good.
The question is, can he also show that sort of speed stepping up in class? Timeform US believes it could be a tall order to keep pace early with some of these others. The 2 is Majestic Pharaoh, and Majestic Pharaoh will try the synthetic surface for the first time. He is a son of American Pharaoh, who wins about 14%, slightly better than industry standard with his synthetic sprinters. Now, this horse hasn't been seen since late December at Tampa Bay Downs. He was listed as a vet scratch here last week, gets the Lasix and blinkers makeover.
Yeah, they're going to try some changes here. They're also going to drop him in class, I guess, a little bit for this race. His only win on dirt in a maiden 40, where he just was able to make the lead and hold on. To me, he's just got to improve by quite a bit, I think, if he's going to win this race. But maybe he'll like the all-weather, Dan. I don't think that's impossible.
The 3rd place finisher from that last race has come back to acquit himself quite well. He's hit the board in a couple of first-level allowance races at Tampa Bay with buyers of 68 and 72, respectively. The 3 is Loco Abarrio, and this horse has finished first in a synthetic race, but was disqualified and placed second. Subsequently came back on dirt, and as Mike mentioned in the open, ran a very fast race graduating. Last time out in the Pasco, he got hooked up in a pace battle with the eventual winner and paid the price.
Yeah, he did. I won't hold that race against him. The fast race 2 back came on dirt where, again, he was able to sort of shake free and never really faced a challenge. But it's a fast race, and he was improving at that time, Dan. The last synthetic race, the race that he was claimed out of, what did you think of that race? I actually felt like he ran okay in there, and I certainly understand why he was disqualified. He came over and bumped Marley Luck a couple of times, but when I watched it, it looked like the way he was getting in, bumping that horse, it actually cost him. He actually lost the advantage when he did that, and then he surged again and got up.
No, I thought he showed a lot of heart and courage in that race, and then big speed, obviously, in his second lifetime start, and then just overmatched, as you mentioned, in the Pasco. The 3rd horse came back to win a starter allowance at Tampa with a 72 buyer. Rock and Roller's up next. Rock and Roller is a horse that is going to try the synthetic. His lone win came on dirt, and he ran well on turf last time out. We're going to watch this turf run at Gulfstream. This is a $75,000 optional claimer. It's a pretty good field, but there's just no closing going on. They basically run 1, 2, 3 around the track, and this favorite had the best of it up front.
Yeah, that's true. And this was Rock and Roller certainly had a good trip in his own right, Dan. He just can't really gain any ground. And he is going to hold on for second here. I guess he ran fine in this race. I don't know. To me, he's just one of those horses who I feel like he could win here. It feels like he is taking sort of small steps forward with every start so far in his prior race on the all weather. I guess it was fine. I didn't really love that performance from him, but he was a big price that day. I don't know. I thought he was a contender. The 3-1 morning line doesn't interest me at all.
The 5 is Best Defense. He's had 3 starts. He's had 3 different trainers. He made his debut for Todd Pletcher during the Belmont at Aqueduct meet, ran on the turf, ran evenly, then went through the Keeneland November breeding sale ring, sold for $30,000, showed up at Gulfstream for Ken Sweezy, and did this in a $50,000 maiden optional claimer, perhaps most notably, first time on the synthetic, and Best Defense showed good speed in this race and just scoots away from the competition and was claimed by an astute horseman in Michael Maker. And Mike Beer, $50,000 might be a bargain for a lightly raced daughter of Into Mischief.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I actually thought he ran pretty well in this race, Dan. I mean, it's not, the most impressive win in the world, but he showed good speed. He never really gave that field a chance in there and was clear under the wire. He earned a competitive figure. I don't see why, if he, comes back and runs as well in here, I don't see why he couldn't make the lead once again if they wanted it. It's Maker off the claim. Irad sticks with this horse. I don't know. I didn't think it was that hard to make a case for.
Lightly raced daughter of Into Mischief, by the way, son of Into Mischief, and he did add Lasix and blinkers for that race. Perhaps he is coming into his own. Marley Luck is next. Marley Luck was in that race that we saw with Rock and Roller. Maybe he was compromised a little bit more by the lack of pace up front. Again, there wasn't a lot of closing going on. He was trying turf for the first time as well. Something tells me that's not his surface. He's run some solid races on the synth.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dan. When I went back and watched the turf race last time, he did have, maybe a little bit of traffic in that race. He also just, to me, never looked comfortable on that surface and didn't really fire through the stretch. But his prior form on the all-weather, I thought he ran fine in all those races. Even the one where he was placed first against Loco Abario, he ran fine in that race, dueling through the stretch. Two back, he was just in against a horse who he had no chance to beat. Extendo actually looks pretty good to me. 96 buyer winning that day. So he gets a pass for that one. He gets a pass for his last one. His prior 2 starts, I think, both make him a contender.
And his prior 3 buyers, all on the synthetic, put him squarely in the mix. Buyer speed figures in the mid to upper 70s. Both the 7 and the 8, well, they're the only 2-time winners in the field. We'll begin with the 7, Cheerful Charlie, who was just overmatched last time out. Draw a line through the Dania Beach. He was in way over his head against the likes of Major Dude, who came back to win the graded Kitten's Joy with a 90 buyer on turf. You go back to his last race on synthetic 2-back, he was a pretty game on the pace winner in a slow-paced 2-turn race. Now, while he's performed well sprinting in the past, I wonder if cutting all the way back to 5.5 puts him at danger of getting outrun early.
That worries me about him in here too, Dan. Though I guess it's at least worth pointing out that after he ran really well last September in the Armed Forces, that was a pretty fast-paced race that he was close to, and he just got caught at the end. They cut him back to 5 for his next start, the Hollywood Beach. He ran fine. He was beaten less than a length in that race. So he's shown that he can handle these cutbacks, which, I think you're right, that they can be really tough. This horse has done it before. My main problem with him is, and he's very consistent. I think this is a race he can very easily win. He's sort of attained that level in the, upper 60s on the buyer scale. And it does feel like he's going to have to run a faster race to win here.
And you have to wonder if after 11 starts, we've already seen his peak. Now, he was the favorite in the aforementioned Hollywood Beach. The winner of that race completes this field. That's the 8, No Name Dude. And that was his one and only start on a synthetic surface. He ran very well that day. They then tried a dirt sprint with him. No dice. They then tried a turf sprint with him. No dice. But he's getting Lasix and he's getting back to a surface where we know he's very competitive and he's pretty quick out of the gate as well.
Yeah, and I also feel like he's getting pretty significant class relief here too, Dan. This is a good spot for this horse. His last 2 races, I just feel like even with the surface factored in and the stakes race 2 back, maybe just a little bit too tough for him. I thought he ran really well winning the Hollywood Beach from a stalking position. He also broke his maiden 1-star prior on dirt where they just sent him off to the front, and I thought he ran really well that day too. This horse fits right in there. I can't believe he's 10-1 on the line.
I'm a little surprised he's 10-1, but maybe those last two running lines just dirty him up a little bit. He's trained by a very capable conditioner. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for our Wednesday DRF race of the day. We're both going to go with horses that have shown speed and have experience in stakes races. Mike's getting a great price on the stakes winner, the 8 No Name Dude. You'd take 10-1 on him, certainly, right?
Yeah, I'll even take a couple clicks down from that, which I think is possible. I'd be surprised if he was that big a price. I think he fits right in here again. I like all of his races, and I think he can improve again.
Loco Abarrio's dropping out of the Pasco. He's run well on synth in the past. Now, I'm curious as to see whether he's a need the lead type, because if he is, and Timeform US is correct, he could be in a little bit of trouble. 5-2 might be just a little bit too light for me to take on the 3 Loco Abarrio. I think he might be the most likely winner. 3, 4, 5, 8 for me, 8, 6, 5, 7 for Mike. In Wednesday's race of the dates, the 7th at Gulfstream Park. Best of luck.